Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is Gore Verbinski's social commentary on today's society, told through a sci-fi AI action adventure film. Now, first of all, I wasn't even going to go see this movie, but then I saw the trailer before another film at theaters and it blew me away. I have to say it's one of the best trailers of the year in my opinion. Now, because of its content, kind of social commentary, parody type film, sci-fi, clearly a bit over the top, it could go any direction, but I'm very pleased to say that I really enjoyed Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. And I think that it has just enough of the right amount of the sci-fi, AI, futuristic stuff to make it worthwhile. While it does have some pacing issues and a few problems here and there that I'll get into in a minute, this was a really fun watch. So I'm really happy that I saw the trailer and actually was able to go see an early screening last night at my local theater. Huge selling point here for me is Sam Rockwell. I'm a big Sam Rockwell fan and he absolutely killed this performance. I loved him in the trailer and I'm happy to say he delivered fully through most of the movie. Any problems that were Sam Rockwell's character were, I don't believe, his fault. It was more directing in the script, but he absolutely killed his character and was just a blast to watch on screen throughout the entirety of the film. The rest of the cast here also super solid. Some standouts: Juno Temple, who you might recognize from Ted Lasso, and then Haley Lou Richardson, who I'm not super familiar with, but she was really good in this, standout for sure. And everybody in this film is actually really good though, even some of the B cast, or like the cast that doesn't really make it all the way in the film. There were some really standout moments for them. Everyone was very solid throughout the film, and good thing too, because this is one of those movies where the cast really makes a huge difference, and I think it could make or break the film. And some of the flaws I have with the film would have been just aggravated even more with the bad cast. Social commentary here is stuff that I could unpack probably for a while, and I probably need to marinate on the movie a little more to really understand it all or watch it again. But there are a lot of really subtle little things in here, and then some very obvious things also. Personally, the stuff that stood out for me the most is I really enjoyed the commentary just on teenagers in general and social media. Some of that is the more obvious stuff and some of it is a little more subtle. There were a couple of subtle moments in here hinting at some racism, which I thought was really cool, the way that it was told anyway. There's also a very interesting commentary on school shootings, which I'm not going into spoiler details here, but I will just talk about some of the topics that they touch. I really liked how they handled that. I thought it was really sickening and awesome, the way that they talked about it, just the cold-hearted approach, but also there's more to it. I think the idea of how parents handle it, or like in this fictional world are handling it, just shows kind of in a deeper level how parents sometimes treat children in a certain way, or like how they think of them in regards to themselves. Again, trying not to go into too much spoiler territory, but there was a lot of different layers there going on. Of course, some very obvious, but then some other a little bit more nuanced pieces that I thought were really good and really well handled. The beginning of this film is like chocked full of a lot of little social commentary moments, and then towards the middle of the film, I feel like it loses a little bit of steam, and some of the social commentary or the things it tries to do pull away from the film, and it kind of loses its footing, and that's where the flaws start for me. But overall, again, there's a lot to unpack here, but those are some things that stood out to me. Obviously, the use of AI and the use of just like tech and living in a different reality, also very cool. Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is very well shot, very well lit. I like a lot of the set design and stuff going on here. I do have some issues with maybe just probably budgetary constraints. It feels a little small in its scale at times, like they're just kind of walking down alleys, but it feels like they're not really traveling as far as I think the movie wants you to feel like they are on this like epic journey that they're on. The music in Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is also really cool. Judging by the trailer, I expected this to be maybe actually a little more over the top than the film actually is. It's a little more understated than I would have expected, and I would have been fine, honestly, if the movie itself was like the trailer, just nonstop in your face, like crazy huge musical score pieces with good luck, have fun, don't die, just playing in the background. I would have been fine with that, but it is definitely not that for the whole movie. which, for me, I wouldn't have complained, but I can see why people wouldn't want that for an entire runtime of a film. My only real complaint about Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is that it just doesn't go far enough, I don't think, and the actual adventure part of this film wasn't well thought out enough, in my opinion. I think that it stands alone as an adventure film and not just a social commentary film with a loose plot going on in the background. You can watch this and have fun, and they are going on a genuine mission or adventure. There's really a movie going on. Some social commentary films lose themselves in the plot and they literally just exist to tell you something about society. But that's not the case with this. I think that it is a movie that can stand on its own feet, or its story that it's trying to tell, but it does get lost a little bit, especially towards the end. The adventure part starts to be a little more standing around while stuff happens, and I didn't quite understand why there was a lot of we just have to wait now for something to happen, and why you can't just go do the thing. Or there were some parts that were kind of bugging me with the writing and some of the character decisions, and just some of the stuff that happens and the way that the enemy attacks was kind of it felt like it kind of got lost towards the end. I definitely think that the movie honestly could have gone a little harder and offended people a little more. I don't think it was quite offensive enough. And I think when you're trying to tell a story, social commentary kind of like this, I actually think they played it a little too safe in certain parts. Now, maybe the goal was not to offend people. Regardless, I think the film could have just gone a little bit further. And like I said, a little bit tighter screenplay towards the end. I think some of the pacing definitely falls apart and it gets a little slow. And when you're not really having a whole lot going on with other social commentary or other character storylines and things like that, I think that the beginning of the film really started laying down some good pieces where there was a little bit of a mystery or something, and then you kind of get an answer to that later, which I thought was very clever. And some of that stuff starts to unfold, but then it kind of just throws all that out the window towards the end. And so unfortunately, I think that the actual adventure part of the film is not as fast-paced and fun as it could be. So upon rewatch, it's going to be a little bit more of a slog to get through than the first time, even though it's a fun movie, because you can't watch just the adventure part and watch the action and enjoy that. It's really more of a go here, do a thing, and then it's very slow and they have to wait for something, and you're it's not just fast-paced the whole time, which I kind of expected from the trailer. I really thought this would be more of a non-stop fun action epic all the way to the end, and it's unfortunate that it's not, because I think that if it was tighter paced and they'd gone a little further with some of the stuff, that it could be a rock solid, really, really fun time. Unfortunately, what you're left with is still a fun time, but something that you're probably not going to want to jump and see again really, really soon. But that being said, the ending, I did really actually enjoy the ending. I like how they went out. I think that there's multiple versions of what could have happened at the end here, and what they chose to go out on, I think was the most tasteful, best way to do it, in my opinion. Kind of gave you answers, but at the same time didn't have a cop-out ending. And I can't be the only one that's sick and tired of AI being a villain or a main plot point in all these movies. So sick of it. But thankfully, Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is actually my favorite film that tackles AI, at least recently. And I think it's because it tackles it in a way that it's a crucial point to the film, but it's not the point of the film. It's almost mirrors society so closely. Obviously, everything is dramatized or whatever, and it's not literal, but this is the scary thing about a movie like this, is it's actually not super far from reality in certain parts, which is kind of why it makes it good social commentary. But it's crazy that we live in a world that you have to go so far beyond the norm to even be crazy anymore, because it's so close to literally how we are as people and how society is. And of course, that's what the movie is kind of saying. And because of that, though, because it almost is so mirroring of how people actually are and how society is, the AI stuff is more it treats it as this just here, it's just a thing, it's a byproduct, but it can be used or go in so many different directions, or people just need to see that it needs to be, see it for what it is, kind of thing. So kind of just it's used as a plot point, society, not so much a big baddie type of thing, which I really enjoyed. I think they did it in a way that still was able to enjoy the film and the commentary and the actual storyline without it being propped up on this stupid AI thing that's like techno based that will not age well or something like that. As with most of my reviews, probably went way longer than I wanted to, but all that being said, good luck, have fun, don't die. It is a great time at the theaters. I highly recommend trying to get out to go check it out. I see this one probably creeping up to the top of my year list towards the end of it. It's early on in the year, but I just think this was a really fun one and it's very memorable. And so I anticipate it being pretty high, but we'll see how it lives in my mind as time goes on. That being said, let me know if you're gonna go check it out in theaters. I hope that if you get a good group of people with you, people will really laugh at the right parts and will amplify all the comedy and all the crazy over the top moments in theaters. But thank you so much for watching this review and take care.
Got them running scared on a big bad wolf. I never see the silver lining, only see the gold. I don't speak in caps, dog, everything bold. And I put that on myself cause it's a life that I done chose. I said come through, you can see me on the west side.